Hello, everyone. Good evening. Happy Tuesday to everyone joining us here on Inside Sports Talk. I am your host, Johanna-Rosalye. I am joined today by two awesome people. One of them is my great co host, friend, family over here is Ed Cole. And then we also are joined at top of the show with a great friend, and Greg Moore, our one of our favorite sports writers in the here in the Valley. Hi guys, how are you this beautiful Tuesday evening?
I'm hurt. You mean I'm your favorite sports writer in the Valley? I'm not like just your favorite sports writer. Come on, what are we doing?
See, if I single one of you out, then it's just gonna, I'm just gonna get bombarded of, everyone out by everyone else. So
And
we're gonna
later
keep
for
it
those other
neutral.
guys, I'm the favorite right here. Send me the DMs. Complain to me. We got this.
All right, it's established. Greg is the favorite, so I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
So everyone else can arm wrestle with Ed on that one.
That's right. Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just rip the Band-Aid right off. We have Greg here for 15 minutes, top of the show, and the reason for having him on is to talk NFL, the Super Wild Card weekend that just wrapped up. It was full of nothing but craziness, and especially on Monday night with the Cardinals and the Rams. I'm going to go ahead and just lead it off with that. It was a heck of a game. Greg, you were there. I know it was, I don't know. I don't know how it was for you being actually in the building, because I know how it was for me watching it on TV. And especially after Buda Baker going down, it was just gut wrenching, and my heart like just literally broke into pieces, and just pray for a speedy recovery as best as I can go for him. And we can talk more about that here in a second. But tell us about your experience in not only in SoFi, but also over last night's game.
It was an out of body experience. It was just like, what's happening here, right? We've got Cliff Kingsbury. He's the offensive guru, right? He's the genius. He's the guy who the Cardinals brought in to scheme some stuff up for the number one draft pick, Kyler Murray, who I've said countless times is the most elusive, one of the most dynamic. He's like watching Brett Favre mixed with Barry Sanders when he's on his game. And these guys had 3 yards through their first 4 or 5 drives. I mean, they didn't cross the 50 until early in the third quarter. It was something out of like a Steve Wilkes, Mike McCoy nightmare. It was awful, guys. It was awful in every way you could frame it. And I couldn't have been more disappointed in what I saw.
Greg, it was just horrific. Just the halftime numbers. They had 40 yards of offense at halftime. Greg, they averaged 1.5 yards per play. Give Raheem Morris, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, that kind of credit for scheming up for Kyler Murray and his offense and all of his weapons. They had Kyler on the run all night long. He looked like he was shell-shocked for pretty much the entire 60 minutes. And just give the Rams credit. They were relentless in their pursuit of him.
It started up front, right? When you watch Aaron Donald, and that guy, it's hard to overstate just how impactful Aaron Donald is on the interior defensive line. He can tee off with a bull rush. I saw him crash into Justin Pugh more times, and he would hit Pugh in a way that would just knock him back. And then when he established that power rush, he was able to start putting moves on. Then the next thing you know, they're running stunts behind it, and Chase Edmonds is trying to block a linebacker in the end zone. And it was scheme. It was Kyler holding on to the ball too much. It was discipline with the Rams defense. There was a quote from Donald after the game. He said, "We did a good job of bottling Kyler Murray up." And if you watch, there wasn't a whole lot of pressure that Kyler could step out and step around. It was just like a boa constrictor, just kind of slowly, just kind of squeezing in. Listen, man, and I'm speaking about the offense because that's what's on the marquee. When you talk about the Arizona Cardinals, you're talking about an offensive dynamo. That's what this team is known for. But the defense didn't do any favors either. Odell Beckham was running free. Sony Michel, I want to say he gained something like 25 or 30 yards on the first play from scrimmage. It was just bad all the way around. And the Cardinals looked like they were simply not ready for the moment.
One of the things that we had talked about and mentioned that this was gonna be Kyler Murray's pretty much game of his career. It was his first playoff, and it was going to determine what type of quarterback or his, going into next season, how that's going to turn out for him. And on not only that, but also for Cliff Kingsbury. Those has been the struggles for the Arizona Cardinals throughout the season. They had a phenomenal first half of the season, and then they tanked the second half, as we've seen them do for the last couple of seasons, and they just can't seem to get over that hump. So what is it going to come down to? Ed and I had talked about it yesterday after when we did a recap of the game, and like with Cliff Kingsbury, is it come down to him and having to, or is it going to be the entire organization? Like, what has to budge in order for a change and for them to just get over that hump all the way around?
So for me, the Cardinals kind of look like a bunch of perfectionists out there. When one thing goes wrong, it kind of falls all apart. And I can't think of too many times where I saw the Cardinals kind of get off schedule, get down by 14, and then figure out a way to fight themselves back into the game. What I tend to see with the Cardinals is either they're rolling, right? They're getting stops. The offense is moving the ball, and they're playing with a lead, and then they can run the ball. James Conner's going up the middle. He's blasting folks around. But when they get down, you don't see them being able to find a plan B. You don't see them being able to find something deep within to create this comeback that kind of makes people believe that the Cardinals aren't going away. That said, the Green Bay game, they hung in there pretty tough. I think really the second half, they lost a lot of guys to injury. You lose DeAndre Hopkins. It's impossible to replace what he can do to a defense. And when everything that you do is based on winning these one-on-one matchups, and it's based on having just the best guys out there, it's really hard to duplicate that with, Antoine Wesley, who I thought played quite well in the opportunities that he got, but simply he's not DeAndre Hopkins, right? Christian Kirk played well, nearly 1,000 yards, I think 77 catches, 5 touchdowns, but he's not DeAndre Hopkins. And so if you can't find different ways to put pressure on a defense, okay, we don't have plan A, but here's this other thing that we can do, again, it gets tough. I think for the Cardinals, it's important that they identify exactly what went wrong. And we can all take our guesses, right? We can say there were injuries. We can say clearly there was an inability to adjust the scheme once they had some stuff on tape, once offenses or defenses kind of figured them out that they couldn't adjust. We can say that they did not play complementary football. We would see the offense go 3 and out and the defense give up back-to-back long drives and the offense not being able to respond well after scores. All of those things are true. But for me, what it's going to come down to is leadership on the field. And a guy like Kyler, I think right now, he's the best of the junior NFL, right? Like he's an amazing young quarterback. But I don't want to talk about him in those terms anymore. I just want to talk about him being among the game's elite. I don't want to differentiate between him and Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to differentiate between him and Tom Brady. I want him to be in that class. And in order for that to happen, Kyler's got to be the guy to respond to the most adversity. And right now, we're not seeing that from him.
So, Greg, with that being said, do you think Kyler will ever step up? Do you think he'll ever mature to that level of the all-time greats at the quarterback position that have ever played this game? Do you think he is capable of being that person, being that leader, a la like a J.J. Watt, a guy that can step in and just command the room and say, okay, fellas, this is my team. Ride my coattails. I'm gonna take us to a championship. Is he that guy?
I think so. Let's stop for a second and talk about J.J. Watt and just how amazing that was that he came back from his shoulder. His shoulder was destroyed, right? He had a torn labrum, which is the soft tissue that cushions the joint. Torn rotator cuff, which is the ligaments and tendons in there that makes it so that you can move your arm. Torn bicep tendon, which means that the part that connects the upper arm to the shoulder was ripped. This is stuff that takes 6 months or a year to come back from. JJ Watt came back in about 12, 13 weeks. Let's just stop and recognize that for not only a show of toughness, but for the inspirational moment that it was. For me, that had the potential to be like Kellen Winslow getting dragged off the field after the epic in Miami. This had the potential to be like Byron Leftwich getting carried down the field by his teammates at Marshall. This had the opportunity to be like Ronnie Lott cutting his pinky off instead of missing time. This was to that level for me. The difference, though, is that most of those other, Emmitt Smith playing with that separated shoulder against the Giants, I think it was like 93, 94. But in most of those instances, the injured guy was able to be part of a team that won the game. And JJ's teammates weren't able to rise to that level to put the Cardinals in that position. Let's go back to Kyler Murray. So here's the real tricky part. Football is the ultimate team game, and you can give me the single most talented, most amazing guy, and unless he's in the right system and unless he's got the right stuff around him, it's not going to work. In order for Kyler to be among the all-timers like what we're describing, is he's got to go from being this physical marvel, a guy who can throw the ball a zillion yards and can scramble past anybody and put the shakes on anybody. He's got to go from that to a guy who sees stuff before it happens. Like, how many times have we seen Kyler hold the ball a little too long? That's because he's waiting on the perfect window to zing it in. Kyler's got to learn how to throw a guy open in the NFL. How many times have we seen Tom Brady? I heard earlier today somebody said Tom was getting the ball out in something like 2.5 seconds. That's not Kyler's forte. So it's going to take for him to learn how to see things before they develop, and that's going to require for him to have the right kind of coaching staff and the right kind of offense around him. Can he do it? Yes, absolutely. Is he going to do it? That remains to be seen. I say yes, but he's got to show it.
How much did losing DeAndre Hopkins affect him?
Oh, listen, that was like Magic Johnson losing Kareem, right? That was like Jordan losing Scotty. That was like, when you've got a guy, the quarterback, we can stop and we can think about these amazing quarterback to wide receiver combinations, and it's always an amazing combination, right? It's never just a quarterback who doesn't have weapons around him. We can think about Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne, or Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison. We can think about Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. We can do this all day long, right? And when you've got a guy like Hopkins, I think back to a play I saw, and I wish I could remember which game it was. Kyler dropped back and basically closed his eyes and chucked it up, right? He dropped back and basically threw it as far as he could along the sideline. DeAndre was in no way open. He was running down the field, the ball was in the air, and DeAndre slowed down like he was getting ready to catch it. Well, him slowing down made the defensive back turn and look. And at that point, DeAndre took back off at full speed, caught the ball, and would have scored a touchdown, except he kind of grabbed the defender and dragged him into the end zone with him and got called for a face mask on that play. But it speaks to DeAndre's ability to do things that nobody else on the field is going to do. When we saw Christian Kirk making his best plays, that were on these post corner routes where Kyler would kind of throw it to a spot and Christian would run underneath it and kind of catch it over his shoulder. And that takes so much precision, and so everything has to be just so. Whereas DeAndre, you don't have to be perfect as a quarterback. The ball just needs to be near him. I think they call that a catch radius these days. In my day, we just said the guy had great hands and could catch everything. But how much did DeAndre's loss affect Kyler? Tremendously. It's hard to overstate. It's like, how much did a baker miss, losing his favorite mixing bowl or his favorite pot? It was to that level.
And last question for you, Greg. As the Cardinal season, of course, has come to an end, unfortunately, after yesterday's loss to the Rams. And we've mentioned a lot of key components as to what's contributed to the downfall of the Cardinal season and what maybe to look out for and forward to. What do you think are going to be some, things that are going to be key components for the Cardinals going into the following season?
So the Cardinals have a million guys whose contract situation is up in the air. Do they bring back James Conner? Do they bring back Chase Edmonds? Do they bring back gosh, I don't know, Chandler Jones? I mean, there's guys all over the field. I want to say there's something like 30 unrestricted free agents. So that's going to be something they've got to figure out. Do you bring back Jordan Hicks? Is there more of a role for Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, the interior linebackers, the young linebackers who really haven't found a way to impact the game commensurate with their skill set and with their talent? I think those guys are the goods, but we have yet to see it. For me, I think the Cardinals are really going to want to build their depth on the offensive line first, whether you do that through the draft. And with the Cardinals, I think they've got the 23 pick. And then they've got redundancies. So I mentioned Simmons, I mentioned Collins, and I mentioned Hicks. Well, Jordan Hicks asked for a trade before the season, and the Cardinals weren't able to accommodate him. And Hicks was just the ultimate professional, played great, answered every question to the media, explained things quite well, and was just an amazing leader. Potentially, the Cardinals could reward him for that by trading him to a place that's better suited to use his skills and then opening up a spot for the young guys inside. Can you package Jordan Hicks with that number 23 pick to move up and get an impact offensive lineman to kind of start to create a little bit more depth on the offensive line? We saw Josh Jones struggled a little bit with some penalties. He struggled in spots. Cliff Kingsbury said today, speaking to the media, that was because he played guard a lot more than he played previously. Can he adjust to that position in the NFL? But so for me, I think you start there. I think they could use another threat, a wide receiver. Rondell Moore started off great, but he kind of hit a wall about midway through the season. Of course, the whole team hit a wall midway through the season. But if there's any one thing, I think it's got to be Cliff Kingsbury. You've got to put everything on Cliff. This is his team, and the problems we're seeing right now are things that have dogged him throughout his career, going all the way back to his college days. His teams tend to start off very strong, then they tend to fade and fade badly. And so it's going to be on Cliff to figure out how can he set things up. Can he show teams the equivalent of a jab early to set up the equivalent of a right cross later? Can he build off that right cross to throw a hook? Can he then start to set up combinations and keep defenses off balance to where no matter what they see on film, it's difficult for them to adjust to because they don't know in what sequence he's going to call it? That's the challenge for Cliff. Can he become a leader? And it's tricky because you don't think that would be necessary at the NFL level. You would think that guys would motivate themselves and that it would not be incumbent upon their coach to kind of get them fired up, so to speak, for a game. But clearly, and my colleague Bob McManaman at the Arizona Republic wrote this today, the Cardinals lost their edge. Can they figure out a way to make sure that doesn't happen again? And for me, that starts with Cliff Kingsbury.
You make a lot of great points in there, Greg. And then I love your analogy to boxing. That was great. That was perfect.
That's why I'm your favorite, right there. That.
Yeah. Shh.
see, Greg, only her favorite would know that she loves boxing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Secret's out. Cat's out of the bag. So.
No,
yeah.
Really.
Well, Greg, can you tell our awesome audience and listeners where it is that they can go ahead and find you and your awesome work and your awesome writing?
Yeah, sure. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Saying More, SAYING More, MOORE. I use my Instagram for storytelling tips, and so it's for like aspiring writers, aspiring storytellers. Just some of the stuff that has really helped me, things that I've learned from my mentors. Is just me trying to pass some information along. Twitter is where I share the overwhelming majority of my work. You can also find me at the Arizona Republic in print and AZ Central online.
And those writing tips, I think your stories, those are great because it has even brought me back to some, just like, I forgot something from, those fundamentals that you need in your writing, and nice little refreshers even for us, that we've been in writing and in the industry for a while. So I think that's great that you do that.
So sweet of you to say. And Ed, that's why I'm her favorite right there.
Exactly.
True, true. Oh, well, Greg, thank you for joining us again, and then I'll see you soon. I know I'll always catch you at one of the many games around the valley.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. We've got, of course, the Suns. We've got WNBA coming. So I'll see you soon. Ed, take care, man. It's been too long.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your
Take care,
time.
y'all.
Have a good night. I love Greg. He's awesome.
Oh, he's great.
Why he's my favorite.
Oh, it's definite now. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm just sticking to it now. Hey, come back out from it now. Even no matter how hard to try. So,
But just his analysis and being there at SoFi and just taking the game in there firsthand and seeing what happened there. I mean, the absolute collapse of the Arizona Cardinals, them not even showing up for the game, and just his insight. It's second to none.
Yes, and then I do agree with him. Which the last question and how he answered is the with Cliff Kingsbury, because that was the dagger of a question that was going to end up being asked once the season wrapped up. If it wrapped up after last night, in which it did, and falling back on, is it really truly going to fall back on Kingsbury, and should it? So that was a great answer that he gave, and I do agree with him. It all does come, has to come back to him, and there is a lack of leadership, when within Kingsbury and also out on the field, because for a quarterback, you see with Tom Brady, like you mentioned, and Aaron Rodgers, you compare those teams to all others around the NFL. There's nothing like it.
Oh, no question. And everything should point back to the head coach. That is why he was appointed the head coach. And there has to be questions, and everybody is wondering what is going on with Kingsbury and his teams at Texas Tech. They would do the same kind of collapses. And in the few years he's been with the Cardinals, they've had just poor second halves where they were unable to make it happen, Joanna. We saw this season. They lost 5 straight home games. They started off 7-0, went 4-7 over the course of the season. They had a golden opportunity last season, Joe, to make the playoffs. Couldn't beat the 49ers. Couldn't go out to Los Angeles and beat the Los Angeles Rams. So it's you just wonder, like, what is going on with this football team and their inability to close out seasons.
Yeah. So are you ready to go ahead and move on from Arizona Cardinals and dive into a little bit of what we saw over the weekend?
Of course. Yeah, let me pull up the scores. Yeah, absolutely.
So as we mentioned, the Cardinals did lose to the Los Angeles Rams 11-34 in that catastrophic loss for the Cardinals. We have the Steelers who lost to 21 to Kansas City Chiefs, 42 points on Sunday. That was Ben Roethlisberger last game of his career. Unfortunate end to end his career, but we all did see that it was going to have to come to an end fairly soon. We do also have the San Francisco 49ers who went up against the Cowboys and became victorious in Texas, 23-17. The Philadelphia Eagles lost to the Buccaneers 15-31. We have the New England Patriots who faltered 17-47 against the Bills. And then we have, last but not least, the Raiders against the Bengals 19-26. So those are the scores. Which was your favorite game of the weekend to watch? Not counting out the game from last night, Monday Night Football, Cardinals and Rams. What was your other highlight of a game?
Well, clearly that was not my favorite game to watch last night because that was an absolute debacle, what happened there at SoFi. But to me, 2 of the games that I picked, the Cincinnati Bengals beating Las Vegas. I know they beat them in controversial fashion. There was so much talk about Joe Burrow and the touchdown. Did he throw that touchdown or was he out of bounds? Jerome Boger and his entire officiating crew got pulled off of the rest of playoff duty because of that call, Joanna. Was Burrow out of bounds when he when he threw that touchdown pass in the end zone to his tight end. But nevertheless, that was the difference in the game. That 7 points made the difference in the game. That's why they won 26-19. But for the Bengals to get their first playoff win in 31 years, Joanna, that's awesome. And for Zach Taylor, the head coach, did you see the video? He went to a local bar, like a local pub after the game, and gave a game ball to the fans. How cool was that he was able to do that? He know that they were starving for a victory. It's been 31 years, 3 decades plus since the Bengals had won a playoff game. So that was really cool for Coach Taylor to go there and be, he seems like a fan's head coach, and he just went there and showed some love to the diehard Bengals fans who have suffered for that long. So for the Bengals to win, and also for San Francisco to go to Arlington and knock off the Dallas Cowboys just a week after they beat the Rams to actually make it into the playoffs, that was great for them to just gut out a win in Arlington, and they move on to take on your Green Bay Packers at Lambeau on Saturday.
Yep. So you gave me 2. I asked for 1 and you gave me 2. You always go above and beyond. But for me, I'm not gonna mention Tampa Brady, but I will go ahead and go with the 49ers and the Cowboys. That was a heck of a game. I think that was my favorite game over the entire Super Wild Card weekend.
That was a great game.
I think that was because you see all the other games that were kind of pretty much one-sided if you really look at that, or if look and come down to it. The Eagles didn't really stand a chance against Tampa Brady. The Bengals, well, there was a little bit more of a game there against the Raiders. The Chiefs and the Steelers, that was all one-sided. The Rams and the Cardinals, all one-sided. Patriots and the Bills, come on, see that score, But so this one was a little bit more, of a game. And then the Cowboys did come close to, with an opportunity to maybe even overcome the 49ers and take over that, that lead in victory, but they still came short. So Jimmy G did what I asked Jimmy G to do, and came out and became, victorious over in Dallas. And that's actually the only visiting team that won.
That's right. Yeah, good win for them. They had to hold off the Cowboys. They had them 23-7. The Cowboys rallied back for 10 points. Dak Prescott had a touchdown run. Greg Zuerlein kicked the field goal, but it's never going to be a pretty victory, especially in the playoffs, but especially on the road, Joanna, for you to go to Texas and knock off the NFC East champions, the Dallas Cowboys. Great victory for San Francisco.
Definitely. So this is gonna be one heck of a game to watch this coming weekend. You mentioned it, Green Bay Packers, A-Rod and Jimmy G go at it.
I like that matchup, but one I really love to see. I love to see this rematch of the Bills and the Chiefs in Kansas City. That is going to be an outstanding football game with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, 2 of the best young quarterbacking talents in this league. They get together again for a second straight year in the playoffs for the right to go to the AFC Championship. That's going to be a great game in KC.
Well, before we go ahead and dive into what we'll be looking ahead into this weekend for the divisional playoffs, let's go ahead and run down what the matches are. We have Cincinnati Bengals at Tennessee Titans. That's Saturday. That's for the AFC. For the NFC, we have San Francisco 49ers going against the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. We have on Sunday, NFC, the Rams against Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. We have the AFC, the Buffalo Bills at Kansas City facing off the Chiefs. So that's all of these are amazing matchups. And it's really hard for me to pick which is the one I'm looking most forward to. I can jump ahead to next week and tell you what I'll be looking forward to, and you better have 911 on speed dial if that doesn't end up being the outcome of it. But
for championship weekend, yeah. Man, these are all great games. So what are you thinking about? I know you're looking at Lambeau Field. You're looking at the game on Saturday night at Lambeau. I know that's what you're looking at, and you're looking at Rams and Buccaneers, which is going to be a great game. Two great offenses against two great defenses. That's going to be a great game in
my
Tampa.
2 favorite quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
For real. So no, I wouldn't doubt that we will go ahead and see A-Rod and Tampa Brady going at it again.
Well, if the Rams play on Saturday like they did last night against the Cardinals with that defense and how maniacal they were at getting to Kyler Murray all night long, can that offensive line for the Buccaneers hold off Aaron Donald and Von Miller and the rest of that defense for the Los Angeles Rams? That is a defense that can travel anywhere. That is a championship caliber defense that Raheem Morris, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, has put together. He and his staff, and Sean McVay, the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams. That is an outstanding football team that's on a short work week. Of course, they've got to get ready to get on a bird and fly across country to Tampa to take on the world champions. But that's going to be something to behold on Sunday afternoon. It'll be 1 o'clock here, but 3 o'clock Eastern. 49ers Packers. I'm looking forward to that. See what Jimmy G can do. I know he's dealing with some injuries. He's banged up a little bit, but we'll see if he's a full go. I would assume that Kyle Shanahan's going to let him go, hopefully, if he's healthy and ready to go, Joanna, because you're going to need all hands on deck at Lambeau Field against that man, number 12, and number 17, Devontae Adams, and Aaron Jones, all the weapons that Aaron Rodgers has at his disposal. And, oh, by the way, Green Bay's got a really good defense, too.
Yeah, they do. It's a great game just all the way around. We have Matt LaFleur against just the head coaches and their opponents going he's going 2-2. We have Kyle Shanahan going 2-3. And in playoff record, it's 2-2 for Matt LaFleur, and we have Kyle Shanahan at 3-1. So I'm just looking at these numbers, and I just don't know who give this to. If you really just put it down to paper, as much as my heart just wants to go ahead and go for my favorite A-Rod over here, and my Green Bay Packers, I still think that Jimmy G does have a chance standing up against the Packers and Aaron Rodgers if he comes out the way that he did this last weekend, because that was one, if not the best games he's had with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, Joe, he didn't put up a ton of numbers. He threw for under 200 yards. He threw an interception, but it was all about Elijah Mitchell and what he was able to do in the running game, and Deebo Samuel. Those two young men, Elijah had 96 yards rushing. Deebo had 72 yards rushing. So until the Packers can stop either one of those young men in that running game for the 49ers are going to be in that football game. Oh, and they've got Brandon Ayuk, an outstanding wide receiver, along with Deebo Samuels. Oh, yeah, George Kittle's there too. One of the best tight ends in all of football. So Garoppolo's got a myriad of guys he can hand the ball off to or throw the ball to. Oh, and they've got a really good defense too. So I think that defense will be more than up to the task of trying to take Aaron Rodgers out in his own building. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, and then I'm just looking at some facts here with players with most postseason touchdown passes ever. Of course, we know Tom Brady is at the top of the list there, 85 touchdown passes. But we have in third, Green Bay's Aaron Rodgers at 45 touchdown passes. So then on second, that leaves Joe Montana, 45 passes. But we also have players with the most tackles for loss in 2021. We have Nick Bosa in there, so for the San Francisco 49ers. So yeah. So it's gonna be a heck of a duel this weekend for these guys. And then we go forward to like you have mentioned with the Los Angeles Rams and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's like you mentioned, if LA does come out like they did come out last night against the Cardinals, we're gonna have ourselves a heck of a game. Right now, the playoff record for Tampa Bay is 11-9, and for the Rams is 23-27.
Yeah, that's going to be something. But the thing is to be on the lookout for Tristan Wirfs. He's the offensive tackle for the Buccaneers. If he's available or if he's not available, that's really going to change things up for what the Buccaneers and Tom Brady are going to be able to do. If he's not ready to go, obviously they're going to have to plug somebody else in there. And this is the worst defense that you could plug somebody else in there to go against, especially in the playoffs, Joanna, with number 99 on that line. Oh, and number 40 on that line. Von Miller, those two young men are absolute Hall of Famers. And you got Ashawn Robinson. That kid played his tail off last night against the Cardinals. So it just doesn't come from 99. It comes from everybody on that defense. Oh, and by the way, they've got that kid number 5 back there in the secondary. What's his name? Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, he's pretty good too. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. So it's going to be something for Tom Brady to try to crack that Rams defense, Joe.
Yeah, like we've talked, the Rams defense is spectacular in what they're able to do. They have a, like when we've mentioned it before, a team that has a great offense, defense, and then just is able to go ahead and just stop their opponents. And they've been, what they've been able to do, and we especially saw what they were able to do last night against the Cardinals. And then those names that you mentioned, there's players in each of these teams that their names just pop out and stand out. So it's like who stands a chance? You have Odell Beckham Jr., you have Rob Gronkowski, you have Mike Evans with Tampa, then you have Cooper Kupp, we have Cam Akers, we have, the list can just go on. You have Lavonte David. Like, it's freaking ridiculous. Like, I wish, I kind of wish that I would see these two teams in a Super Bowl.
But obviously it couldn't happen.
I know, just hypothetically, like wishful thinking, because I think that would be one heck of a Super Bowl if we had that.
It sure would. But yeah, so many great names out there, so much talent on offense and defense. And those also, they both have 2 really good special teams, 2 really good kickers for both of those teams. Ryan Suckup, the kicker for the Buccaneers, and Gay for the Rams. So it may come down to one of those special teams possessions, Joe. It may come down to a possession, a field goal here and there, because these two teams are so evenly matched, offense and defense. Who's going to budge?
Yeah. I don't know. I know Tom Brady's not going to budge. I will tell you that much. Not. And I'm ready to see him pissed off and break another tablet. But
although he caught major heck for breaking that tablet, he caught a lot of flack from the league for that. But hey, it was a hit of the moment.
Mention it, yeah. No, yeah. Of course, he's competitive, of course, in his nature. And when I'm competitive and things don't work out my way, and I get just as Tom Brady does. Very few people have seen that side of me. But speaking of Tom Brady, he is in the all-time leader in NFL postseason with, guess how many games he's played in the postseason, Ed?
Over a 20-year career, I'd say 100 or more. Over 100.
No. Less.
90s?
Less. Way less.
70 something? 75?
No. 46 games played in the postseason.
Really?
35 wins.
Really?
Passing touchdowns, 85. Super Bowl titles, we know it, they're 7. And Super Bowl MVPs, he's gotten 5 out of those 7.
Wow.
Yep, and he's one of 2 starting quarterbacks to win Super Bowls in multiple franchises. So, yeah, I know. When I saw the games played in an NFL postseason for Tom Brady, I thought that number was higher as well. And I saw 46. I was like, huh.
It sure is 46.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I was way off.
Didn't believe me, did you?
No, 46.
I was fooling you.
It just seems like a low number for him, but yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But
So
usually here's the situation with the Patriots. They would always have a bye because they would win the division every year. They'd win the AFC East, so they wouldn't have to play
yeah,
until the second round, and then they win that game. They go to the AFC Championship. They'd win that, then they go to the Super Bowl. So they don't have to play 3 games every time they would go to the playoffs. So that sounds about right.
yep. And then with a this number, I don't even know if I can throw that many passing yards. 12,720. That's a heck of an arm Tom Brady has.
Wow, that is amazing.
But enough of Tom Brady, Tampa Bay, and the Rams. Let's go ahead and move on to the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs. So that is going to be another great game. Or do you think it's going to be one-sided, Ed?
No, I think it'll be a great game because these are another evenly matched kind of setup. Again, we talked about Josh Allen going up against Patrick Mahomes for a second straight year in the playoffs. Both of those guys have a full complement of talent at their disposal, and their defenses are good. Kansas City's never had the most amazing defense in the NFL over the years. They just haven't been built like that. The Chiefs have, but they're good. They're very good. Any team with Tyrann Mathieu back there in the secondary, they've got a good defense. Kansas City does, and so does Buffalo. They've got some really good players, Micah Hyde and others. They've got a really good defense as well. So again, it's going to come out to which defense is going to be able to stop that other potent offense, or which offense can break through on that other really good defense.
Yeah. You know what? Patrick Mahomes proved me the heck wrong. Because remember when we had talked one point in the season, is it going to be his season? Is he even going to make it to the postseason? Like, much less the Super Bowl and, the way that the team had started off. And look at him now. And the team is like, what?
Yeah.
It's like,
everybody.
pump the brake. Like, he is the alien.
A lot of people really just kind of questioned the Kansas City Chiefs after they started 2-3. People are like, as you mentioned, oh my gosh, are they still having layover effects from what happened in the Super Bowl? As you mentioned, is this the end of the run for the Kansas City Chiefs? Is Patrick Mahomes, is this the best he can do? Can he ever take this team back to the Super Bowl and get them a championship? Well, they turned that thing around quite well. I believe at one point they won 7 in a row during the season and kind of really righted the ship and got it together. But you knew Andy Reid coach team would eventually get their stuff together, and they got it together and they got it rolling again. And now they're back in the playoffs. So Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns against Pittsburgh, and Josh Allen threw 5 TDs against New England. So which one of those young men can either one of those young men replicate what they were able to do this weekend in Kansas City? Ooh, only time will tell, but that'll be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I know we'll be glued to our TVs this weekend.
Oh, yes.
For sure.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Definitely. And then we have the Cincinnati Bengals and Tennessee Titans, last but not least. I don't know. I'm stumped on this one, Ed. I don't know how I see this game going.
Me too. Of course, it's in Nashville, so you would think the Titans would have an advantage because they're at home. But I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals can go down there and beat them.
I was gonna say, can Tannehill really stop Joe Burrow?
Can he outplay him?
Yeah,
he's capable of it. My goodness. But AJ Brown and Julio Jones and all these guys, they've got to step up and have the games of their careers for them to be able to knock off Cincinnati, because Cincinnati has all the confidence in the world after beating Las Vegas, after winning the AFC Central, they beat the Baltimore, they swept the Ravens. That's something that hardly ever happens, that they would sweep the Baltimore Ravens in the course of a season, and they had the season that they had. And coming off what Joe Burrow suffered just a few years back when he suffered that ACL tear against the Washington football team, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this kid there were so much high hopes for Joe Burrow to come in this league and tear it up, but now he is, Joe.
Yeah,
he came back with a vengeance.
About that.
Yeah, but he came back with a vengeance this year and just absolutely destroyed the National Football League. I believe in a 2-game stretch, he had almost 1,000 yards passing in 2 games, One game he had like almost 560 yards. So there was a stretch where Joe was going off and Jamar Chase was going off. And they've got the third best running back in the league in Joe Mixon. Love that young man. Love the way he runs the football. So from an offensive standpoint, Cincinnati can get it done. And their defense is really good too. Can that defense travel down to Nashville and shut down Ryan Tannehill and all of his weapons? I think it's possible. I think Cincinnati could win this game. What do you think?
I'm leaning more towards Cincinnati too. I don't know that Tennessee or Tannehill has what it really takes to beat Joe Burrow, to go past them. I don't know that they do. Like, not saying that they're a bad team, but yeah.
It would be different if they had Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry were healthy and in the lineup for this game, Joe, I would probably give the edge to Tennessee because the guy's a battering ram. Who stops Derrick Henry? But they don't, and their running game is not as good as if it was if Henry were in there. If the King were in there, it'd be a totally different situation. Their offense would be different.
Yeah, because it'd be nice to see Joe Mixon and Derrick Henry kind of have a little bit of a rivalry there, trying to get rushing yards, because they're like neck and neck, almost kind of. Derrick Henry a little bit behind, but he's
they were for a point until Derrick got hurt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So yeah, it's just all going to be pretty heck of a weekend. I will try to catch as much of it as possible. But it's time, Ed. You know what it's time for?
What?
Our predictions for this weekend.
Okay, great.
Are you feeling confident?
Yes. After going 5-1 over Super Wildcard Weekend, how can I not be confident?
Don't be too overly confident now.
I was almost 6-0 if it weren't for the Cardinals.
And you doubted me.
But I led with this instead of this.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yep. I hate to be right on that prediction, though.
Yeah. You were.
Yeah. Let's move past that.
But you went 4-2. 4-2 is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not 5. It's not 5-1.
I started 0-2.
Oh, and then you rallied back. Nice rally.
Mm-hmm. Then I rallied back. So, yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and start with Saturday with Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans for the divisional playoffs kickoff. Who do you have there?
Yeah, got the Bengals going down there and knocking off the Titans, knocking off the number 1 seed. They're out. You?
And that's in Nissan Stadium in Tennessee. I will also go with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. So I'll stick with that one.
Good.
So moving on to San Francisco 49ers and Green Bay Packers, going to be in the frozen tundra, Lambeau Field. That's going to be the afternoon or evening game on Saturday. Ed.
I can't bet against Aaron in his own building. As well as the Niners have played to get into the playoffs, and I love the run that they're on right now. I think that run ends on Saturday night in Wisconsin. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a great game, and the Packers are going to win this thing, and they're going to advance to the NFC Championship again. I
agree. It is in the frozen tundra. They have home. I was going to say home field, but they have the advantage at home, and anyone who goes into the frozen tundra during a playoff game, it's very hard to beat Aaron Rodgers. And it's literally going to be frozen this weekend there. So San Francisco 49ers will have a heck of a time to overcome that cold and be able to go ahead and play a subpar game against the Packers. So I'm going with A-Rod and my Green Bay Packers. You're thinking?
No, I agree with you.
Oh. I saw a thinking face, I thought.
No, I was just thinking of the 49ers going to Lambeau and dealing with those conditions. And then, by the way, trying to stop Aaron Rodgers on top of that.
I wouldn't dare take that risk. I'll just stay here, and because my tush would be completely frozen by the time I step indoors. So, moving on to the Los Angeles Rams at Tampa Bay facing off the Buccaneers, Raymond James Stadium. That's going to be Sunday, first game of the day, early afternoon. So, who do you take there? And
Oh my gosh, I want to go with the Rams because that defense wins championships, but I got to go just like with Aaron. I got to go with Tom Brady in his own building. I think it's gonna be a hard fought victory for the Buccaneers because that defense is never going to give up. They're going to come after him all afternoon long. But I think Tom Brady and his weapons. I think the Buccaneers ultimately prevail. It's going to be a close game.
yeah, I agree with you. I will go ahead and gonna stick with Tampa Brady. I cannot go against Tampa Brady and the Bucks. And come on, it is Tom Brady. He's freaking a beast. Yeah, even though the Rams have an offense, they have the defense, and they do have what it takes of what it, they potentially bring down the Bucks. But I'm sticking with Tom.
Mm-hmm. Would I be surprised if the Rams do go to Tampa and win? No, I would not.
No, definitely not.
But I just don't think they're going to win.
Yeah. And last but not least, Ed, we have the Buffalo Bills at Kansas City Chiefs. Arrowhead Stadium. Ooh. That's going to be Sunday night game. We have a heck of a game that's going to be faced up. I think there couldn't have been a better Sunday night game than these two, in my opinion. The Buffalo Bills are 12-6. The Chiefs are 13-5. Who do you take here?
I am going with the Buffalo Bills. I'm going with them to go to Kansas City and beat Mahomes and the Chiefs and dethrone the AFC champions. I think they're gonna win. Josh Allen is gonna have a great game. Devin Singletary has got to run like he did against New England. Josh Allen, he had 66 yards rushing. He's gonna have to run like he did against New England. Dawson Knox had 2 touchdown catches. If Dawson can have another game like that, and Stephon Diggs can step up, he had 3 catches against New England. But if those 2 young men can step up, and Ian McKenzie, if those 3 can step up big for Josh Allen and be major weapons on Sunday night in Kansas City, I think they have a chance to knock off Mahomes in the Chiefs. So I'm going Buffalo.
Really? I'm surprised.
I meant to say Isaiah McKenzie, not Ian. But yeah, I'm going Buffalo. Yeah, I think the Bills are going to win this year.
Okay.
They're going to win this rematch, this playoff rematch.
All right. I see you. I'm going to go with Aaron Reed and the Alien and Patrick Mahomes. I doubted him once. Now I'm kind of scared to doubt him again and have me prove me wrong yet again. So I will take the Chiefs over the Bills.
Okay.
Sticking with the home team.
I won't disrespect that because at this stage, these 8 football teams deserve to be here, deserve to be where they are right now. So if our picks don't come out correctly, then I would not be surprised if the other teams that we didn't pick won because they all deserve to be here.
Right. And yeah, because come on, can you blame me? It's Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Tyrann Mathieu. Come on.
Yes, that's a very good football team, but I just think this is Buffalo's year to come on out of this thing.
But then they do have Stephon Diggs.
Yes. Terrapin.
And Sean McDermott.
Maryland Terrapin, yes. Stephon Diggs. Yeah. But yeah, you talked about Kelce and they've got Tyreek, you mentioned, Mecole Hardman, Jerick McKinnon. They've got so many weapons, Kansas City. And Mahomes he threw a touchdown pass to one, two, three. He threw a touchdown pass to 5 different receivers. Or is it 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5 different receivers. That's crazy. So he spread the ball around. So it could go Kansas City's way. I would not be surprised again if they did come out and win. Like I said, if the Rams would beat Tampa Bay, I would not be surprised. But if Kansas City wins, I would not be surprised. If Buffalo cannot keep control of 15, If they cannot keep control of the human X-Files, we're talking about an alien. He is the human X-Files experiment. That is that guy.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Uh, but I actually just realized that I picked 3 out of the 4 home teams to win. Will we see that again? Because we saw all but one of the home teams won at home. Will we see a similar situation or repeat of that this weekend?
Funny for me, I picked 2 of the road teams to win, Cincinnati and Buffalo.
2-2, you're even.
Yeah. It's a great thing about just, we just throw up our picks and then the games play themselves out. Nobody knows.
Yeah, really don't.
But that's the fun. That's the fun of it, Joanna. We can just go back and forth and wish, and we can say, "Oh, this is going to play out." We want the Packers and the Buccaneers possibly to meet back up in the NFC Championship again to see if Aaron Rodgers can get revenge on Tom Brady for last year. Can it happen? Will it happen? Who knows? But that's the beauty of the National Football League. We just have to watch and wait and see if it does happen.
Yes, and then I will be out of commission when I watch those 2 games, though. I will be honest. So, if you don't hear from me for a couple of days, you know what's wrong.
But for my picks and looking ahead to what could be the AFC Championship, if it's the Bengals and the Bills, that's going to be exciting too. Burrow against Josh Allen. Again, back to those young quarterbacks. They're on the rise, Joanna. They're taking over this league. If it is Cincinnati and Buffalo, that could be a fun one.
Or even over here on the NFC, if it ends up being the Rams and the 49ers. Although I don't want that because it's not fair. 2 West Coast teams going at it, but then we do have 2 East.
Yeah, 2 NFC West teams.
Yeah.
But I think everybody wants Rodgers against Brady again.
Yes, I do. I know a couple of people a few people that I've talked to, they're kind of really wanting that Rodgers and Brady rematch again. I know I do, as much as it's probably gonna give me a heart attack, but
just like it did last January, just like it did a year ago.
Yeah, at least this year it wasn't, the Cardinals and the Packers playing freaking same time or going against each other again.
I know.
That would really send me over the edge.
Oh my gosh. But it could end up being old school versus new school quarterbacks again, like it was last year. Brady and Mahomes. It could be, could it be Burrow or could it be Josh Allen? If my picks come correct against either or Rodgers or Brady, if all of our picks come correctly, that'd be a fun Super Bowl out in LA.
Yeah. Any of these, however which way they would end up and matched up and landed in the Super Bowl, it's gonna make for a great matchup.
Oh yes, I wouldn't mind if any of these 8 teams, just eventually ends up world champions. But we'll see how it ends out. But we've got 4 games this weekend, then we got AFC and we got championship weekend next weekend, and that's always one of the most exciting weekends. Championship weekend. That's always fun.
Definitely.
Yes.
It is. So, question is, will we see the 2 veteran quarterbacks make it out of this round?
But when you talk veteran, could you also be referring to Matthew Stafford? He's a veteran quarterback. Could he get out of this round and make it to the NFC Championship? He possibly could.
Yeah. Could.
He could.
All right, I'm going to go with the GOATs then. So future Hall of Famer, GOAT quarterbacks, and Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, see what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
But I know any which way I do would, wish in all of these quarterbacks an awesome, the best of a game.
Exactly.
On this weekend.
Exactly. And isn't that like the prevailing theme in this, Joanna? Quarterback play. None of these 8 teams get to where they are right now on the cusp of championship weekend without great quarterback play. And all 8 of these quarterbacks for these football teams are outstanding quarterbacks. They're outstanding signal callers.
Just like in baseball, and this is the final comment that I'll make before we wrap up the show. Just like in baseball, what wins you the game and it comes down to the wire? Pitching.
Yes.
In the NFL, what wins you and what is going to be the determining factor and
QB
get you
play.
over that edge is going to be the quarterback in making that Hail Mary freaking pass to win you the game and maybe even the Super Bowl.
Yes. Or maybe it's a Tom Brady. Maybe it's a 96-yard drive. If they're down against the Rams, he's got to drive. He's at his own 4-yard line. He's got to drive 96 yards to take them to the NFC Championship game. It could play out like that.
Mm-hmm. But with that being said, I hope that Kyler Murray ends up being one of these phenomenal future Hall of Fame, leadership quarterbacks in like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and like Jimmy G is shaping up to be, and Stafford and all of these guys. So he has the potential, but he still has a little bit more work to do, and hopefully we can see him there in the Arizona Cardinals make it further into the playoffs. But with that being said, it has come to the end of our show. Ed,
we talked an hour of NFL football. How great is that? Hour of playoff football.
I know we didn't even get to touch basketball, NBA, the Phoenix Suns, the awesome game that they had last night against the Spurs, and Devin Booker's 48-point game, and tying Amar'e Stoudemire for most 40-point games or in the franchise at 15. Just so much that we still didn't get to cover. The top news of the week is just all football fever right now.
NFL dominates, but yeah, the Suns on a 4-game winning streak. They've won every game on this road trip so far, and it ends in Dallas tomorrow night. So the boys are in a major role. I love the way they're playing right now.
It sure is. Actually, it's Thursday night, Ed. But go ahead and let our awesome people know where it is that they go ahead and find you.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. They do play on Thursday night. Sorry, Phoenix Suns. Only one of the voices of the Suns would know that.
Right.
Yes. Oh man. But yeah, for me, get me on Twitter at EdCole43, Instagram at EdwardCole301, Facebook Edward Cole, and of course right here on Inside Sports Network.
All right. Yeah, just want me to go ahead and get an extra game in this week, huh?
Yeah. Well, they've got the Pacers coming up, so they're good. They're good on games this week.
They are. They did have a couple back-to-back games, but you can go ahead and find me, Johanna-Rosalye, on both Instagram and Twitter at JRosalye. That's JRosalye. You can find Insight Sports Network on Instagram at Insight Sports Net. You can find Insight Sports Network on Twitter at Insight Sports _. Make sure you go ahead and look us up on Facebook. Go like our page, YouTube, follow our YouTube channel there as well, and on all podcast platforms. Thank you for all tuning in, listening in. It was great having this NFL fever talk. And until next time, this was Inside Sports Talk.